I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Once again, I apologize for being sick and my voice being shot. But this is a Patreon review for Kanan. Thank you so much for that. If people want to request pretty much any type of video review, movie topic, whatever, you request either directly to my PayPal or join me on my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. If not, no worries. If so, thank you. Now, Kanan wanted me to talk about the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, specifically the Venom Saga, which is about, there is a DVD of it, there's about 5 episodes. There's a 3-parter about the alien costume, part 1, 2, and 3, Venom Returns, and Carnage. Now, the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I really do enjoy. I remember seeing that way back in the day, and getting a kick out of it, because at the time I was reading a lot of Spider-Man comics, and to be able to see that in a cartoon form was fun and exciting. Might not seem like it from the tone of my voice, but a lot of people complain about the animation, but for the time I thought the animation for those 90s works well for what I was trying to do. I love the opening theme, Aerosmith Spider-Man theme. I still think it's the best Spider-Man theme out there is by Aerosmith, with the rocking guitar riffs and such. I like the voice actor who voices Spider-Man. I thought voice acting wise he fit the best as Spider-Man, as a normal everyday guy trying to do what he needed to do. And I don't know, anytime I think of Spider-Man, that's the voice I think of. That includes live action as well. When I think of Spider-Man, of all the incarnations live action animation, to me, voice wise, this was the best. This Spider-Man that fit the best. Felt natural, and it felt just, again, it sounded like a normal everyday guy going through these extraordinary circumstances, which is how I viewed Spider-Man. And what was great about the show is that it lasted quite a few years. So it got through a variety of characters, bad guys and good guys. I mean, throughout the show you got to see Punisher, you got to see Iron Man, you got to see Captain America, you got to see various other characters. Same with villains. As well as storylines. I mean, this Venom storyline I think is better than anything in Spider-Man 3. I really do. Now, of course, they didn't have the Secret Wars. They kind of did that later in the show, but they didn't have it at this time, because that's how Venom came to be in the comics. Spider-Man was up there during the Secret Wars. What's his alien thing? Oh, it's on my costume now. Wow. It's amplifying my powers. It looks cool. Takes it back to Earth. Finds out it was a symbiote. I was fine with the way they did it in this, where J. Jonah Jameson, which I forgot Ed Asner voiced J. Jonah. His son's an astronaut. Something happens, it comes crashing back to Earth, and in that ship is the symbiote. I thought that was something that made sense to me. It made perfect sense to me, and if you're not going to have the Secret Wars, I think this was the next logical step. Better than fucking Spider-Man 3, where it's just some random fucking shit crashing down to Earth. It just happens to land right near Peter Parker. So, and it seemed like a lot of stuff afterward would use that concept of, okay, if you can't have Secret Wars, J. Jonah Jameson's son is an astronaut. Seems like other iterations would use that after this. And it's been a while since I've seen the show, so I also forgot that Hank Azaria, the guy who voices Mo and others on The Simpsons, he was in movies like the 1998 Godzilla film. Hank Azaria played and voiced Eddie Brock. I actually thought he did a pretty good job. And Spider-Man saves the astronauts, but of course he doesn't get the celebration because Spider-Man's always a guy who always gets the shit end of the stick. The humor throughout the show, I think it fits the show. It was nothing cringeworthy to me. Granted, didn't make me laugh, but it was nothing cringeworthy as well. So like he lands in the Hudson River. He's like, oh, Hudson River pollution, rich, thick, and creamy. Actually, I wouldn't say it made me laugh, but again, it made me go, eh. It just is the show. I liked the dream, the nightmare sequences, which you didn't have much of that in Spider-Man 3, the movie. But here, I like that there's Venom, this black symbiote, but then you have one that looks like Spider-Man and playing tug of war with Peter Parker. But then the symbiote takes it and like consumes him. That image always stuck in my mind when you think of the Venom story, because that's a great visual thing of the tug of war between good and evil, between righteousness and that sort of sinful allure of anger and power, and what can be done with the symbiote. I also thought with all the cartoon iterations, the black suit looked the best here. Because a lot of times in the future, they'd have the black suit, but it'd be, you see the webs embedded out. Or it was never sleek and slick like it was in the comics, but it was in this. The black suit actually looked slick and smooth, as if he was wearing oil, which is one of the things I liked about his look in the comics. In fact, I would have been fine seeing a show where he would get just a black suit and wear that for a good chunk of a season or two, like after the whole Venom thing. So I like this look, and in the comics he did. It was actually a pretty cool look. But eventually went back to the red and blue. But I'd be fine with, like, that was a cool looking suit, that black suit. And it looks good in this. I like that in a short amount of time you are shown how powerful this thing is. He can lift more stuff. He can be swinging longer distances. He can even turn into a cop uniform in regular clothes. So right there you see all the possible benefits. Wish you didn't get that in the Spider-Man 3 cartoon. It seemed there was no fucking difference other than him having a fucking pissy fit and dancing. That's a fucking movie. Here, in just a span of a few minutes, it's like, wow, I can go longer, I'm stronger, and I didn't even do this. This is really cool. So I thought it was a nice introduction to the costume. And because of limited time and they can only do so much, You have the part 2 where you see a little bit of that anger, frustration taking over because the symbiote's affecting him. So he's getting more angry, snapping at people. You know something's up, so you don't have Mr. Fantastic, which it was in the comics. I think that would be cool. But I guess at this point maybe they didn't establish that. Fantastic Four, I can't remember. So you got Dr. Kirk Connors, the guy who used to be Lizard, to analyze it. And by this point, Eddie Brock, he had taken pictures, but then he finds out, J. Jonah finds out he was full of shit, so he gets fired. You do get to hear Spider-Man being very pissed because one of the villains is Shocker. He's fighting Shocker, and Shocker fucks with him for a bit. So Spider-Man's like, "Get back here, Shocker!" I mean, what, horse painter? No. And it seems like he's ready to kill Shocker, but he realizes something's up, and that's where you get many of the iterations utilize the bell. The bell tower gets the suit off, and it gets on Eddie Brock, which leads into the third part, Venom. I love the way Venom looks. To me, he looks like the comics. I love the animation, the bit ton. I thought Hank Azaria actually did a pretty decent job voicing Venom. And to me, he looks like the comics. He looks straight out of it. I thought that was for the best. Now, I will say one issue rewatching the show is I never realized the fact that Spider-Man never punches in the show. He wasn't allowed to. That's the biggest bullshit ever. Because even in that, was the last Spider-Man cartoon I reviewed, Spectacular Spider-Man, he's at least allowed to punch. So to be fair, I will say that I thought Spectacular Spider-Man had better fights compared to this. Because Spectacular Spider-Man, he could kick and punch and do a lot more in that Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon. Which, if you want to hear my thoughts, feel free to watch those reviews. Which, I'm not sick, so my voice isn't shot like it is now. So again, because of that, the fights become limited, so he can either maybe swing and kick them, or use the web a lot, or try to use his brain, so here's a pipe, steam pipe, blast in his face. But the fact he's not able to punch him is a big detriment to the fights in this series. And watch it again, that's why the fight scenes are a bit of a letdown, because that's stupid. I like to know who the fuck made that choice. Because obviously other cartoons he's able to punch. So if Spider-Man's able to punch in other cartoons, why was he not allowed to punch here? Again, sorry, damn cough drop got stuck. I like to know the fucking idiot that made that choice, that he couldn't fucking punch. So that does hurt the fight sequences. But there's stuff to enjoy even in part 3, where Venom himself is fighting Shocker, Rhino. Because of this, the symbiote was with Peter Parker. He knows who he is. I think a lot could be done with that psychological wise, but they don't really do a lot of it. Like, he knows who Peter Parker is, so there's a lot more mind games he could play with Mary Jane or Aunt May, but he doesn't. But I do like the bit where he strings them up like a puppet. Like, you've been embarrassing messing with me, I'm gonna mess with you, and takes his mask off. But so damn far away, no one knows who he is. But I think there's a bit more mind games that could have been played with Venom knowing who Spider-Man is, Peter Parker. The psychological aspect, I think a lot more could have been played up, in my opinion. Now, of course, Spider-Man is a smart character, so he does use his brains in order to get him to the rocket ship and get the symbiote off and hook it to the shuttle that's leaving. But again, the fact that he's not allowed to punch and do certain things, it does hurt the fight scenes. So again, to be fair, I might have to give a little bit more to Spectacular Spider-Man on that front. Because I will say Spectacular Spider-Man, to be fair, it did develop that Eddie Brock and Peter Parker were actually friends. So that when the change happens, there's a little bit more emotional gravitas to it. And the fight scene's a little bit more impact. But while I don't mind the voices, I do like the voice work in this more. I do like the music much more. That's one of the things I don't like in Spectacular Spider-Man. I don't like the music. Here, I think the music fits it very well. Not just the opening Aerosmith, but the rest of the score I think is pretty good too. It's not irritating, annoying music. I think the score fits it well. So overall, it was fun rewatching it again. Sorry about that. The other two episodes, Venom returns. You introduce to Cletus Cassidy, who of course later be Venom. Carnage. Venom. Spider-Man stops him, puts him in prison. In prison, he's next to Eddie Brock, who Eddie Brock has fallen in love with this doctor that's been helping him. They introduce some characters like Dormammu and another guy, and they're the reasons why this is all happening. There's part of this bigger story with Madam Web, which would this figure that would keep popping up and giving Spider-Man these visions because he's Spider-Man. You're gonna be a warrior one day, this big, top-notch warrior, and that led to like the Secret Wars and other stuff. Which was cool because a lot of these shows, if you watch them in order, if you watch them back to back, there's a lot of stuff that does there's stuff that does try to build up. They try to do have these arcs. It's like this Man Web thing is leading up to something. But if you watch, I'm sure if you've never seen the show and you're watching this, you'd be like, who the fuck is Madam Web? And where's this all leading up to? So for a beginner, I'm sure they'll be confused, but if you follow the entire show, it does work out in the end. It was interesting to see Carnage, because Carnage is a character you don't get to see a lot, really in any form, because Carnage is such a violent character. And of course he's not able to do much here as well, which is the sad thing, but which is probably why they don't use Carnage a lot. But it was still to see Carnage look cool. I thought the voice was fine for Carnage. I like the look, the design of Carnage. Some of his dialogue reminded me of what he would say in the comics. Like he would call Venom Dad, and hey Dad, you ready for some father-son quality time? He's got Spider-Man in his grasp. Like I could see that, picture that from the comics. It was cool to see War Machine in there. And then the next one, Carnage, Iron Man, Tony Stark, he gets in there. So that's what I mean. It was cool once in a while you did see characters like War Machine, like Iron Man, like someone else. I don't know if you saw the Incredible Hulk. I can't remember. I do remember at one time you had the Punisher in there. I think at one time Blade was on there too, but he wasn't a vampire. I don't think. He was a vampire hunter, but I don't know if he was a vampire. I can't remember. Again, it's been forever since I've seen the show, but I do remember Blade being on it. Now, of course, because it's a show, they have to tone it down. So instead of killing people, he is collecting their life force by this energy beam because the bad guy, Dormammu, needs it. And if he gets enough juice in his battery, he can fucking escape or something. Venom, because of this girl he likes, he's a bit more of a good guy. So Venom, Iron Man, Spidey join together. Spider-Man doesn't really do a whole lot fighting-wise, which sucks. It's more of him using his brain and expertise. Which did happen. I mean, on one hand, it's nice to showcase that Spider-Man is a genius. He is a smart guy. The flip side is that there are times like this where he doesn't do a lot of fighting and action, but it's just he's there. They do the fighting, he does the computer, he does other stuff. And in this case, he reverses the polarity, so the bad guys, including Carnage and even Venom, go through to another dimension. So I would say, again, it's annoying that Spider-Man didn't get to do a whole lot. And because it's a TV show, Carnage, of course, is limited to what he could do, so he can't go full out crazy mode. Which is one of the tough things dealing with the character of Carnage. So, it was cool to see Carnage. It was cool to see Iron Man in there. Because of limitations, it wasn't as fun rewatching this as I thought it would be because of that, but I still like the look of the show. I think for the time, it's as good as it could be. I like the voice acting, in particular for Spider-Man. I like the score used. They went at a good pace, only 20-some minutes long, wasn't slow or boring. I like the look of the characters. I think Spider-Man, Venom, all the characters look like they do in the comics. So overall, it was fun to rewatch this again. Yeah, I do remember a lot of fond memories of the Spider-Man cartoon. I don't know why it never got an actual release on Blu-ray. I think it's on Disney Plus. It's like, okay, so you can watch on Disney Plus, but you couldn't give it an official Blu-ray release. That's fucking stupid. Shows how bullshit Disney is. I mean, they own it. It's on Disney Plus. I didn't watch it on there. In fact, I watched it on YouTube. Some of this is still on YouTube, at least by the time I'm doing this. So it's still one of my favorite Spider-Man cartoons. It probably would be on my list of favorite cartoons, period. I have a lot of fun nostalgia memories about it. And like I said, it was fun to rewatch it again. Venom looked like Venom, and I could deal with him more here than the fucking Venom movie. Wasn't Eddie Brock going to a goddamn fish tank and dealing with crap, whatever the fuck he was doing in that. Crab tank, fish tank, whatever the fuck it was. Stupid shit. With that said, thanks for watching. Take care. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.